Something strange just happened in Cleveland, and it has the entire NFL world buzzing. In one single preseason game, the Browns may have accidentally revealed what many fans have been whispering about for weeks. Shedeur Sanders is not being treated like just another rookie quarterback. He's being handled differently, and not in a good way. Now, let's be clear. Every young quarterback has growing pains. They all make mistakes, they all struggle with new systems, and they all take time to adjust to the speed of the NFL. But what we saw with Shedeur wasn't just the normal learning curve. It was something deeper, something political, and something that should have every Browns fan asking themselves whether their team is setting up its future franchise quarterback to succeed or to fail. Here's where it gets wild. Head coach Kevin Stefanski stood at the podium and admitted that the offense was called differently for Shedeur Sanders than it was for other quarterbacks on the roster. Think about that for a second. The one job of a coach in preseason is to put young players, especially rookie quarterbacks, in situations where they can learn, grow, and build confidence. Instead, the Browns staff openly acknowledged they weren't even calling the same plays for Shedeur. That slip of the tongue may go down as the most revealing moment of the entire preseason. And what happened on the field only made it worse. While Dillon Gabriel was handed quick screens and safe throws designed to get him into rhythm, Shedeur was thrown behind a third-string offensive line that couldn't hold back a college pass rush. He was forced to sit in collapsing pockets, take sacks, and make long developing reads against a live NFL defense. That's not development, that's sabotage, disguised as coaching. But the real sting came when Shedeur was preparing for the moment every quarterback dreams about, the 2-minute drill. He was warming up on the sideline, pedaling on the exercise bike, mentally getting ready for his shot at a game-defining drive. And then, without warning, he was told he wasn't going in. Imagine being a rookie, waiting for your chance to prove yourself, only to find out the coaches decided to give it to someone else. That's not just disappointing. That's humiliating. And here's the thing, veterans saw it too. Derek Carr, a longtime NFL starter, immediately questioned why Shedeur wasn't allowed to run the 2-minute drill. He wasn't alone. Even players on the Browns sideline recognized something wasn't right. It wasn't just a bad day for a rookie quarterback. It was a calculated decision by the coaching staff that left fans, analysts, and teammates scratching their heads. So, the question becomes, why? Why is a quarterback with Shedeur's pedigree over 0 college passing yards, one of the most accurate arms in the country, and the poise to match being treated like an afterthought? Is it politics? Is it bias? Or is it fear of admitting he's already better than the players they're protecting? One thing's for sure, this is no longer just about one preseason game. This is about whether the Browns are sabotaging their own future, and the answer may be more shocking than anyone expected. Every NFL coach knows the power of words. A single phrase at a press conference can change the media narrative, stir locker room debates, and even shift a player's reputation overnight. Which is why Kevin Stefanski's admission about Shedeur Sanders might be one of the most shocking coach slip-ups in recent memory. When asked about Shedeur's performance in the Browns' preseason finale, Stefanski casually revealed that the offense was called differently for him. Let that sink in. He didn't say Shedeur struggled with reads. He didn't say the protection broke down. He didn't say the rookie just needs time. No, he said the offense itself was called differently. And in that one sentence, he confirmed what fans and analysts had suspected all along. Shedeur Sanders is not being given the same opportunities as the other quarterbacks on the roster. Think about the weight of that statement. If you're a rookie QB, you expect to be tested, sure. You expect growing pains, tough matchups, and moments where you're uncomfortable. That's part of the process. But you also expect a fair shake. You expect coaches to at least run the same plays for you that they run for the other guys. Otherwise, how can anyone truly evaluate your performance? How can fans, players, or even Shedeur himself know if the mistakes are his fault, or the result of being thrown into a completely different game plan? And here's where the controversy deepens. By admitting the offense was tailored differently, Stefanski essentially told the world that Shedeur was handicapped from the start. He wasn't running the same screens, the same quick hitters, the same timing concepts that Dillon Gabriel was thriving on. Instead, he was left with long developing plays and protection from a third-string offensive line. That's not a learning curve, that's a setup. Of course, Stefanski probably thought nothing of it when he said it. Coaches talk all the time about packages and situations, but in this case, the words landed like a bombshell. Fans immediately flooded social media, accusing the Browns of sabotaging their rookie QB. Analysts replayed the clip over and over, pointing out how damning it sounded. And you could almost hear the collective gasp from Shedeur's supporters when they realized this wasn't just speculation anymore. The head coach himself had admitted it. Now, here's the kicker. This wasn't some random rumor from a reporter. This was Stefanski on record, essentially validating the idea that Shedeur's performance can't be judged the same way as his teammates. And if that's true, then what exactly are the Browns doing? Are they protecting Dillon Gabriel's narrative? Are they shielding veterans like Tyler Huntley from being overshadowed? Or are they simply afraid of what it means if Shedeur shines too early? Whatever the reason, one thing is certain: Stefanski's slip-up has changed the conversation. What was once brushed off as rookie struggles is now being framed as organizational politics. And once fans catch a whiff of favoritism, it's almost impossible to put that genie back in the bottle. But as revealing as Stefanski's words were, the real shock came just moments later, when Shedeur learned he wouldn't even get the chance to run the 2-minute drill he had prepared for all night. Every quarterback, whether rookie or veteran, dreams about one specific moment, the 2-minute drill. It's the ultimate test of poise, decision-making, and leadership. Drive your team down the field with the clock ticking, and you prove you belong. Blow it, and you learn where you need to grow. Either way, it's a critical opportunity. But for Shedeur Sanders, that moment was stolen from him before it ever began. Picture this. The game is tight. The Browns have a chance to put together a final drive. On the sideline, Shedeur is locked in. He's pedaling on the stationary bike, loosening his legs, mentally preparing for the drive he's been waiting for his entire life. Every quarterback dreams of that exact scenario: the pressure, the spotlight, the chance to command the offense in crunch time. Shedeur believed this was his turn. He was ready. Then, out of nowhere, the coaches tell him he's not going in. No warning, no explanation, just a casual decision that stripped him of the one chance that could have showcased everything he's been working toward. Tyler "Snoop" Huntley, a veteran, would run the drill instead. For Shedeur, the shock was visible. His words after the game said it all. "I didn't know I was out. I was on the bike powering up for that 2-minute drive because that's just a situation every quarterback dreams for. And then he told me I wasn't in. That isn't just disappointing, that's betrayal. You don't prepare your rookie quarterback all week, let him sweat through the ups and downs of the game, then pull the rug out from under him in the one situation that actually matters. It's like taking a student to the final exam, letting him sit through every lecture, every quiz, every assignment, and then telling him at the last second, 'Sorry, someone else is going to take the test for you.' The NFL isn't about protecting rookies from the pressure, it's about testing whether they can handle it, and the Browns robbed Shedeur of that chance. What makes it worse? Veterans across the league noticed. Derek Carr, who has lived through his own share of ups and downs as a starter, didn't hold back. He immediately asked why Shedeur wasn't given the chance to run the 2-minute drill. His question was the same one fans were asking. If this is about development, wouldn't you want to see what your young quarterback can do in that exact situation? Instead, the Browns chose to play it safe. Or maybe to play politics. Because while Huntley got valuable reps he didn't need, Shedeur was forced to sit and watch the defining moment of the game slip away. For a competitor like him, it wasn't just frustrating, it was humiliating. And here's the part that stings even more. This wasn't just about one drive, this was about trust. Coaches send a clear message when they deny their quarterback the chance to lead. We don't believe in you yet. And once that seed of doubt is planted, it can grow into something far more dangerous than any interception or sack. But the real betrayal wasn't just in the benching, it was in the way the offense was tailored for others while Shedeur was left with scraps. And when you line up the play calling side by side, the differences are too glaring to ignore. If you really want to understand why fans are furious about Shedeur's treatment, you don't even need to look at the box score. The truth is written in the play calls. And when you line up what Dillon Gabriel got compared to what Shedeur Sanders was asked to run, the contrast is impossible to ignore. Let's start with Gabriel. On third downs, he was handed safe, high-percentage throws, screen passes, quick slants, and checkdowns designed to neutralize the pass rush. These are the kind of plays that let a quarterback get into rhythm, build confidence, and pad the stat sheet. And when the 2-minute drill rolled around, Gabriel was put in an environment where every call seemed tailor-made to help him succeed. Short reads, timing routes, and plays that allowed him to get the ball out of his hands in 2 seconds or less. Now, look at what Shedeur got. No safety nets, no quick release calls. Instead, the Browns sent him out with a third-string offensive line that looked more like a turnstile than a wall of protection. And the plays? long developing reads that forced him to hold the ball, scan the field, and wait for routes that required 4 or 5 seconds to develop time he simply didn't have. In other words, while Gabriel was being spoon-fed opportunities to succeed, Shedeur was being thrown into the fire with no water. The numbers prove it. Gabriel completed 12 of 19 passes in one game and was praised as sharp by commentators. But peel back the layers, and it's clear he was being protected by the system. He threw just 1 touchdown all preseason, and he also coughed up a pick 6 and a fumble in earlier games. Yet, because his play calling was friendly and manageable, the narrative tilted in his favor. Meanwhile, Shedeur, who threw 2 touchdowns in far fewer reps, was painted as the one struggling, all because his stat line from a single game looked ugly. And then there's the quote from Browns GM Andrew Berry. He compared Shedeur's adjustment to knowing English and having to learn Mandarin. If the offense is that complex for a rookie, why wouldn't you simplify it? Why wouldn't you design plays that fit his strengths, at least until he's comfortable? That's what smart organizations do. They adapt to the player, not force the player to drown in a system he barely knows. Instead, the Browns took the opposite approach. They made Gabriel look polished with plays tailored to his comfort zone, while Shedeur was asked to master an entirely different playbook on the fly. And the end result? Fans walked away believing Gabriel looked ready while Shedeur looked lost. But the truth isn't in the talent. The truth is in the play calling. This isn't development, it's manipulation. And when a coaching staff plays favorites like that, it doesn't just impact the quarterbacks. It sends a message to the entire locker room about who they're really invested in. But as bad as the play calling imbalance looked, the narrative gets even uglier once you dig into the stats and context behind those so-called bad performances. Because the numbers everyone is quoting, they don't tell the whole story. On paper, Shedeur Sanders' preseason finale looks like a disaster. 3 completions on 6 attempts for just 14 yards, a couple of sacks, and 0 scoring drives. If you glance at the stat sheet without context, it paints the picture of a rookie quarterback who simply wasn't ready for the big stage, and of course, the critics jumped on it instantly. Social media lit up with comments like overhyped, bust in the making, and not NFL ready. But here's the problem. Stats without context are lies. Let's start with the obvious. Shedeur wasn't playing behind the Browns' starting offensive line. He wasn't even playing behind the backups. He was stuck with a third-string unit that was collapsing on nearly every snap. No quarterback, rookie, or veteran can showcase their skills when defenders are in their lap before routes even develop. You don't have to be an NFL scout to know that protection determines everything for a quarterback. And in Shedeur's case, he didn't have any. Now, compare that to Dillon Gabriel's numbers. He finished one game completing 12 of 19 passes, and suddenly the narrative flipped. Gabriel was the sharp one. But what did those passes really look like? Screens, swing routes, and quick outs that required minimal risk. Plays designed to artificially inflate completion percentages. That's not proof of talent, that's coaching staff engineering. And here's the kicker. When you pull back and look at the entire preseason, Shedeur actually threw more touchdown passes than Gabriel 2 versus 1. That's right. Despite fewer opportunities, worse protection, and far tougher play calls, Shedeur still found the end zone more often. Meanwhile, Gabriel coughed up a pick 6 and a fumble earlier in the preseason, mistakes that should have been just as scrutinized, if not more. But because the coaches gave him a rhythm and simplified his reads, his struggles were quietly brushed under the rug. Even more telling is how Shedeur himself responded. After the game, he didn't blame the coaches. He didn't throw his offensive line under the bus. He took full accountability, saying, "Those sacks were definitely on me." That's maturity most rookies don't show. Most would have deflected blame, but Shedeur owned it. And that's exactly why the veterans on the sideline respected him enough to show support when the game plan clearly didn't. The frustrating part is how the media narrative twisted this into a story about Shedeur being unprepared. That's lazy analysis. Anyone who actually watched the film could see that the play calling was different, the protection was non-existent, and the circumstances were completely unfair. But the box score doesn't capture that, and once those numbers are plastered across TV, graphics, and Twitter timelines, the damage is done. This is how false narratives are born. One quarterback is set up for success, the other for failure, and the numbers become the weapon used to prove who's better. But the deeper you look, the clearer it becomes. Shedeur wasn't failing, he was surviving. And surviving in that situation says a lot more about his potential than any inflated stat line ever could. But here's where the story shifts again, because while the numbers were being twisted against him, Shedeur's true strength wasn't in the stat sheet, it was in his character, and the way he handled the entire situation revealed exactly the kind of leader he already is. When the dust settled on preseason, one thing stood out more than any stat line or highlight reel: Shedeur Sanders' character. While the headlines screamed failure and the critics circled like vultures, Shedeur refused to play the blame game. No excuses. No finger-pointing, just accountability. And that's the mark of a true leader. But here's the ugly truth. In the NFL, character doesn't always win. Politics does. Think about it. Shedeur is the son of Deion Sanders, one of the most polarizing figures in football. That comes with weight. Every move he makes, every pass he throws, it's judged under a microscope that most rookies never face. For some, that lineage is a gift, instant credibility. For others, it's a target, and in Cleveland, it feels like politics may be outweighing performance. Take Dillon Gabriel's treatment. Despite a mediocre showing across multiple games, just one touchdown, plus turnovers that cost his team points, he's still being protected and praised. Why? Because he fits the safer narrative. The late-round pick who looks steady and disciplined is an easier sell to fans and media than the high-profile rookie battling expectations the size of mountains. It's not just about football, it's about optics. And this is where politics in the NFL gets dangerous. Front offices and coaching staffs don't just evaluate talent, they craft stories. They decide who the project is, who the safe backup is, and who gets painted as the future star. Those decisions don't always align with reality on the field. Instead, they align with what's easiest to sell to ownership, the press, and sometimes even to their own egos. Shedeur's character, ironically, may be working against him. By owning mistakes and refusing to throw his teammates under the bus, he's removing convenient scapegoats. That leaves the spotlight right on him. Gabriel, on the other hand, benefits from the coaching staff building guardrails around his performances. And the narrative that emerges? Gabriel is ready, while Shedeur is struggling. But here's what the politics can't erase. The locker room notices. Players respect authenticity, and veterans especially can tell when a rookie is carrying himself like a pro. Shedeur taking accountability after sacks and failed drives didn't just make headlines, it earned nods from teammates who understand how rare that is. In football, you can fool the fans with box scores, but you can't fool the guys in the huddle. They know who's got the heart to lead. The real battle for Shedeur isn't just against opposing defenses, it's against the internal politics shaping his narrative. And if history tells us anything, it's that politics might win in the short term, but character always shines in the long run. The question is, how long will it take the Browns to realize that? Because just when it looked like the story was written, Shedeur's resilience was about to spark a new twist that nobody saw coming. At some point, you have to ask the uncomfortable question. Was there bias in how Shedeur Sanders was evaluated compared to Dillon Gabriel? Because the difference in treatment feels too stark to ignore. Same preseason, same opportunities in theory, but the execution and narrative couldn't have been more different. Let's break it down. Shedeur was handed a playbook that leaned heavily on deeper reads, slow developing routes, and situations where protection mattered most, despite the fact that he was playing behind a third-string offensive line. That's setting up a rookie quarterback for failure. Meanwhile, Gabriel's play calls were tailored to make him look polished. Short passes, high-percentage throws, and safe concepts designed to keep the ball moving. If you're keeping score, that's not equality, that's bias. And it didn't stop with play calling. Listen to the way the media covered their performances. Gabriel's interception, a learning experience, his fumble, a rookie mistake. Shedeur's incompletions, proof he's not ready. Same mistakes, wildly different interpretations. The bias wasn't just in the coaching, it was in the storytelling. Some of that bias stems from expectations. Gabriel came in as an underdog, a low-profile draft pick with no hype. Anything positive was treated as overachievement. Shedeur, on the other hand, arrived with the spotlight already burning hot, thanks to his father's fame and his own reputation. For him, even the smallest misstep was magnified into a headline. That double standard is what fuels frustration not just among fans, but inside locker rooms too. Players notice when narratives don't match reality. Another layer to this bias is politics. Coaches don't want to look like they're handing a starting job to Deion Sanders' son. There's a subconscious resistance to being seen as favoring Shedeur, so ironically, the pendulum swings the other way. The staff pushes him harder, calls tougher plays, and critiques him more severely, all to prove they're not showing favoritism. The result? He's held to an impossible standard that Gabriel never has to face. And then there's the racial element, one that fans whisper about but analysts rarely say out loud. Historically, black quarterbacks have often been critiqued more harshly, their leadership questioned, and their mistakes magnified. While no one inside the Browns organization would ever admit it, the echoes of that history linger in how narratives are shaped. When a white rookie like Gabriel is described as poised, while a black rookie like Shedeur is labeled unprepared, it raises serious questions about unconscious bias at play. Bias doesn't always come in the form of outright sabotage. Sometimes it's as subtle as a softer headline, a friendlier post-game breakdown, or a play call designed to build confidence instead of tear it down. But those small decisions add up, and over time, they create a narrative that can define a player's career before it even begins. For Shedeur, the bias is clear. The real question is whether he can outshine it or whether the politics and narratives will box him in before he gets the chance. And that's where the locker room starts to play a critical role. Step back for a moment, and Shedeur Sanders' battle in Cleveland stops being just about one rookie quarterback. It's about the system itself, the way the NFL shapes, controls, and sometimes suffocates young talent before it ever has a chance to grow. His story is bigger than preseason snaps. It's about how narratives are built, how politics trickle down into the locker room, and how perception often outweighs performance. Every year, dozens of rookies fight for a roster spot. Most won't make it, but the deciding factor isn't always talent, it's circumstance. The coach who believes in you, the scheme that highlights your strengths, or the media narrative that protects you from criticism. That's the ecosystem Shedeur finds himself in, and right now, it's stacked against him. When you zoom out, his case becomes a perfect example of how the NFL machine can chew up even the most promising players if the politics don't line up. And here's the bigger truth. Shedeur isn't the first. History is full of quarterbacks who were written off too early because they didn't fit the system or the optics. Think about Lamar Jackson, who scouts once claimed should switch positions. Or Jalen Hurts, who was dismissed as a project before proving himself as a franchise QB. In both cases, critics were loud until the wins shut them up. Shedeur's situation feels eerily similar. The bias, the scrutiny, the uphill climb, it's the same playbook recycled again. But the bigger picture isn't just about quarterbacks, it's about fairness and opportunity. When two rookies are evaluated with different standards, it reflects a broader NFL culture where image management sometimes matters more than raw ability. Coaches don't just call plays, they manage narratives to keep ownership happy, fans calm, and media critics at bay. And in that environment, a player like Gabriel, steady, safe, uncontroversial, gets protected, while a lightning rod like Shedeur gets tested beyond reason. What makes Shedeur's battle even more important is the generational piece. He represents not just himself, but the next wave of quarterbacks who grew up in the spotlight of social media, carrying famous last names and massive expectations. How the league handles him sets a precedent. If he's judged unfairly now, what message does that send to every high-profile rookie who comes after? That politics will always trump merit? That character and resilience don't matter if the optics aren't neat enough? And maybe that's why fans are so invested. Because deep down, this isn't just about Cleveland or Shedeur. It's about whether the NFL can evolve past its old habits or whether it will keep recycling the same patterns that almost buried stars before him. The stakes are bigger than one depth chart battle. They're about the future of fairness in the league. But even in the bigger picture, one truth stands out. Narratives can bend, but performance speaks loudest. And the next chapter in Shedeur's story will hinge on whether he can force the league to listen. Time is the one thing no rookie quarterback can control, and for Shedeur Sanders, it's running faster than ever. Every snap he takes or doesn't take matters. Every drive becomes a referendum, not just on his skill, but on his readiness, his reputation, and his future. That's the cruel truth of the NFL. The league doesn't wait. It doesn't care about patience. It doesn't care about politics. If you don't prove yourself quickly, the machine moves on without you. For Shedeur, the ticking clock isn't just about preseason games, it's about the mounting pressure from all sides. Fans are restless, media is watching every throw, and the coaching staff has decisions to make that will shape the trajectory of his career. even ownership is involved, whispering about the future, weighing ticket sales, and measuring how much star power Shedeur really brings. It's a pressure cooker, and with every passing day, the window to flip the narrative gets smaller. And here's where it gets even tougher. The margin for error is razor thin. Gabriel can throw a bad pass, shake it off, and still be praised for poise. Shedeur? One mistake, and the headlines write themselves, "Not ready." That's the double standard, and it means Shedeur doesn't just have to play well, he has to play perfect. In the NFL, perfection is a myth. But in Shedeur's world, it's the expectation. The clock is ticking off the field, too. Every week that passes without Shedeur proving himself is another week where narratives harden, where fans start to doubt, where teammates quietly question, and where coaches begin to favor safer options. Once a label sticks in the NFL backup, inconsistent project, it's almost impossible to peel it off. And that's why these early battles matter so much. They aren't just games, they're defining moments that will live in scouting reports and highlight reels for years. But here's the other side of the story. Time pressure can create diamonds. Some players fold under the weight of the ticking clock, while others thrive because of it. Shedeur has shown flashes of being that kind of player, the one who locks in when the moment is biggest, who turns pressure into fuel. And if he can channel that now, he might not just survive this battle, he might seize it and never look back. Still, no one can escape the reality. The NFL doesn't wait forever. Every second counts. Every opportunity is fleeting. And for Shedeur Sanders, the countdown has already begun. The clock is ticking. The only question left is whether Shedeur will rise before the buzzer sounds or whether the league will write him off before he ever gets his chance. If you enjoyed today's breakdown and want to keep up with all the drama, trades, and behind-the-scenes action in the NFL, then don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps this channel grow and lets us know you love this kind of content. And hey, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with your friends, your group chats, or anyone who loves football as much as you do. The more the conversation spreads, the better it gets. Most importantly, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel and tap the notification bell. That way, you'll never miss when we drop fresh stories, wild rumors, or breaking updates that the mainstream media won't talk about.